Just being fully aware of the flow of the breath, the rising and falling, the inhalation and exhalation. Nothing to do, nothing to change, but just allowing the awareness, the breath as an anchor, as a point, a magnet that brings it inward from the outer world. And if the mind wanders, if you get distracted, don't worry. Just gently and lovingly bring the awareness back to the breath. And allow that awareness just to expand and expand in each moment. Can you follow the breath in all of its subtleties? From the moment even before it enters the nostrils, when it just begins to flow across the top of your lip, that you're able to follow the breath from that place all the way in, feeling the sacred prana come in, feeling the cells oxygenate. It's not just an awareness of breath in the lungs, but it's an awareness of life force flowing into the cells. Can you be aware of how the cells feel as they're getting oxygenated? As that life force flows into them. Allow the awareness to be very subtle and also very sharp. Notice it all. And as you exhale, can you follow the flow of the breath all the way out into the universe? Don't lose that awareness when it comes out your nose or your mouth. How long can you stay aware of it? after it's left your body. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level in Namaste, and gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly and gently lower the hands and open the eyes. Welcome to Satsang. So we always start with a question that's come in advance from our family joining us from all over the world. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. We have 2 microphones, so if you have a question, just feel free to come up to whichever microphone is closer. Ah, yes. The remaining question from last night's satsang that I had promised we would begin with. If everything we are doing is based on our free will, and we are getting the repercussions for those actions, what is the role of God? Yeah, so this is actually not from a person who's sent it in from online. This is actually from a gentleman last night who I promised we would take this first today. It was a bit too long and involved to take up at the very, very end of satsang. So the question basically was, okay, we have 2 fundamental assumptions. First is that according to the law of karma, everything that we have, the situations we are in, the circumstances we're in, are due to our past karma. That's what the law of karma and destiny says, is we are creating our own destiny. We do an action. That action is called a karma. The Sanskrit word karma actually means action. And that action has a fruit, a repercussion, a result. And our life is basically just a collection of these karmic repercussions, these karmic fruits. So that was presupposition 1. Presupposition 2 is that we have free will, and that the actions we're doing are based on our free will, that we're not slaves or robots or puppets that someone's pulling our strings. Therefore, if both of those 2 things are true, where does God come in? And it was a great question. And I didn't want to just blow through it we have to end satsang time. So both of those assumptions are absolutely true. And karma, the law of karma, is something that tragically makes people feel kind of fatalistic. And it's the exact opposite. It's the most empowering way of understanding your life, your circumstances, and your future as any system of belief or philosophy that I know. It says, where you are today, right now, in this moment, is based on that which you've done in the past. This moment is the accumulation, the sum total of that which has happened in the past. Some of it being immediate past, like you were with us in Ganga Aarti, you decided to join satsang, immediate past. But some of it being longer term past. There's something about your history, your inclinations that sent you to Rishikesh to begin with, instead of a beach in Goa. Or if you're coming from abroad, that sent you to India rather than Paris. And that upon coming to India, that you're here in Rishikesh rather than, lying on a beach somewhere or seeing sights somewhere. So there's also longer term kind of karmic repercussions of other choices you've made, other characteristics and traits that you've cultivated. Maybe from family of origin, maybe from your own choices, maybe from company that you've kept. And then we even think about karmic repercussions from past lives that gave you birth in this life, in a family, in a situation, in a set of circumstances that would lead to a blossoming of a spiritual inclination, that would make you want to actually gain spiritual wisdom rather than just eat pizza and go gambling or go to a strip club or, the things that people do in all other parts of the world. That the circumstances that you've had in this life are due to things from past lives. And all of this is absolutely true. I believe it fully. And what it means is, though, that yes, this moment is due to the past, but your next moment is due to right now. So it's not fatalistic at all. It's incredibly empowering. You can't change where you are right now, but you can change tomorrow. You can change next week, next month, next year. The actions that you do create that future. We are literally creating our destiny. Okay, so that's the part about karma. Free will. Absolutely, we have free will. I deeply, deeply believe it. First of all, experientially, in my felt sense, it feels like I am not a robot whose strings are being pulled. It feels like I sometimes make decisions that are really in alignment with my values, ethics, beliefs, priorities. And sometimes I make decisions that I think, my God, where in the world did that come from? And that was really a mistake, and I should have taken some more time with that decision. So it doesn't feel to me like there is someone pulling my strings, or that I'm somehow pre-programmed to make certain decisions. But I also believe that we have free will, because if we didn't, all of the scriptures in the world, all of the spiritual teachings, all of the sages, the rishis, the yogis, the mystics, the spiritual teachers would stop telling us to meditate. Right? I mean, if we have no free will, if everything is predetermined from thousands and thousands of years ago, every minute and every moment of our life, nothing can be different, nothing can be changed. We are pre-programmed robots, why meditate? Why pray? Why do anything? Why engage in any spiritual practice at all? Why help others? Why do anything that either spiritually or morally or ethically we think is a right, good thing to do? If we're pre-programmed robots, well then somebody else is in charge and I might as well just, sit here and eat licorice. Because who cares? Nothing I can do anyway. And every single scripture, every teaching emphasizes meditate, pray, contemplate, introspect, purify the mind, study yourself, study scripture, whereas none of that would matter if we didn't have free will. So, yes, karma, yes, free will. So then where's God? Well, the dilemma with the question is that it assumes that God is a third party in all of this, right? It assumes that there is me doing action by my free will. So there's me, there's action, and then God is somehow a third party who doesn't seem to have anything to do with this equation. That's not what we believe at all. We actually believe that I am not separate from God. And that actually every action that I am doing in the karmic journey and all of the repercussions, the fruits of that karma, are all with one main purpose in mind, which is to get me to realize and remember that I'm not separate from God. It's why God realization, the word, and self-realization are synonymous, right? Sometimes we say God realization, sometimes we say self-realization. It's the same thing. I realize God, I realize self, same thing. God is not a third party trying to figure out what's his role. If there were not God, there would not be me. We believe that there is nothing but God. And that all of this is happening, is manifesting in God, in the divine, in the supreme. So God is that flows through it all. But even if you think of God as a third party, as a separate third party, well, God is therefore the creator. God is the one who gave me free will. God is the one who created the law of karma. God is the one who sent me here onto earth with this karmic package. So even if you believe, which I don't, that God is a third party, well, there's still a very important role because God is the one who made it all happen to begin with. And God is the one who keeps saying to us in Scripture, through spiritual guides and gurus, hey, remember me. Remember me. It's not all actually this drama. Remember me. I'm actually the only truth here. It's God who keeps telling us, you are not separate from me. Nothing is separate from me. So even if you believe that God is separate, well, God is the one who created the whole system, and God is the one who keeps reminding us along the way. As you do your karma with your free will that I have given you, realize and recognize that ultimately the only point of it is to remember me and realize me. So on both levels, whether there is nothing but God and God is not a separate third party, but integral to the very nature of it all, or whether God is the creator and the reminder and the one who's calling us back home. Either way, it's all about God. Great. So any questions that anyone here has? Yes, and you're right next to the microphone.
I always feel very grateful whenever I'm sitting in your presence. Thank you so much for being who you are. And I have to move away? Okay. Hello?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yes, so my question is that I've come to realize that outside world is not a place for me to get involved. I don't feel that's much.
Keep talking into the mic if you don't mind. I can hear you because we're close, but the people in the back, yeah. It's
okay.
Perfect. Yeah, just like that.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
outsider's world is not a place for you to get involved.
Yeah.
Got it.
But when I get involved in different matters of life, I feel I get involved with other people's karma sometimes unknowingly. And that center point goes away and I have to find a fix back to it.
Yeah.
And so I was asking that if there is any way to keep the center the same, what is the way to it?
Beautiful.
That tipping point doesn't,
Yeah, beautiful. So this is where our national flower, right, is the lotus. The lotus flower here in India. It's what we offer in our prayers and our worship and our ceremonies. We sit when we meditate in lotus posture. We celebrate, we honor, we hold the lotus flower in very, very high esteem. Why? Because the lotus flower grows in muck. It grows not in pure, beautiful water. The lotus flower grows in muck, but it doesn't get mucky. It is in the muck, but not of the muck. Its nature stays white, stays clear, stays pure. It doesn't need to run away from the muck, but that muck does not change it. And that's the model for how to do this. Be in the world, but don't let the world be in you. The world gets into us when we are sticky. If we're not sticky, nothing sticks to us. But we become sticky when we want something. If I want something from you, then when I get engaged with you, I'm going to get stuck. Because either you're going to give me what I want, or you're not going to give me what I want. There's going to be desire, there's going to be anxiety, there's going to be yearning, maybe there will be depression or frustration or gladness. But I'm going to get all wrapped up and sticky in it because I want something. If I don't want anything, if I don't need anything, if I don't need you to speak in a certain way, live in a certain way, act in a certain way, treat me in a certain way, then what you do doesn't stick to me. So then I can be like the lotus, in your world, but not mucky, because the muck doesn't stick. The muck sticks only if I think, I want this muck, I need this, want this, or oh no, that's bad, ugh, ugh. But the more I try to push it away, the more it sticks to me. Because you don't stay free of the muck by pushing it away. Then you just get mucky in your hands. You get free of the muck by removing that stickiness, which is by anchoring yourself deeply in the self, in your own fullness, in your own wholeness, in the fact that you don't need something, that you're not wrapped up in desires. So then you can move through the world. But if you're worried about who's going to appreciate you, or who's going to listen to you, or who's going to do what you want, or who's going to make the choices you'd like them to make, then you lose yourself. The only way to stay centered is to have your source of center within you. If my source of center is in you, and when you do what I want, I'm happy, and you don't, I'm not. I've literally taken my center and I've thrown it in you. Some people throw it in the stock market. Right? They go up and down. Market goes up and down, they go up and down. Sometimes we throw our center in other people. They treat us nicely, they act the way we want them to act, we're great. They don't, we aren't. Keep your center in your center. Stop giving it away. Then you can move through the world very happily. Connected, engaged. It's not that you're disengaged or disconnected. You're fully present. You're just not grabbing or pushing. Because you don't need something. It's not a threat. And so you're able to just love. Just like, we love the fruit-giving trees and we love the non-fruit-giving trees. And we love the fruit-giving trees in the time of year that they give fruit, and we love them in the time of year that they don't give fruit. It's not that we're unable to take a walk in the forest in the winter time because, oh my God, the leaves are gone and I can't take it, and how dare they, and I'm just going to stay inside until spring comes back and the leaves are back on because No, winter's got its own beauty. Bare branches against the snow, its own beauty. We can appreciate it. We can, we may prefer one over the other, but we don't need it to be a certain way. We can be very happy with wintertime bare branches and springtime full green leaves. And when we start being able to move through the world like that, that's the equanimity, samta, that Bhagavan Krishna speaks about in the Gita. That's equanimity. The leaves are there, great. Leaves are not there, great. You do what I think is the right choice, great. You don't do what I think is the right choice, great. Because my greatness doesn't depend on that external world. And when you can cultivate that, then you move through the world very unsticky. Great. Just keep the lotus flower in your mind. Other questions? Yes.
I come from another tradition, not very far away. It's Buddhism, Zen
Yes.
Buddhism. I have a question about karma. If there is no permanent self, what is reincarnated? What is?
If there's no permanent self, then what is?
What is that comes to another life? What
Okay.
is?
So, in the Vedic tradition, the tradition we call Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma, we believe that there actually is a permanent self. Not a permanent separate self, but a permanent self because there is a permanent, eternal divine presence, the supreme reality, Brahman. And we believe that we are not separate from that. So there's not a permanent individual being, but there is most definitely permanence as a noun. As we believe in that no beginning, no end, eternal nature of the divine, and therefore of us. We think of our lives essentially as a wave in the ocean. So the wave itself is temporary, but the ocean is permanent. And the wave, when it arises out of the ocean, it's still wave. Right? It's still ocean. When the wave arises out of the ocean, it's still ocean. It doesn't stop being ocean just because it's now become wave. And in the same way, even though we now take this form of an individual self, we haven't stopped being God, divinity, just because we've now taken a form. So what we believe is that this wave, what we think of as Jiva Atma, the individual soul, the ocean, the divine, is Paramatma, that supreme reality, that great soul. This individual soul is on a journey. And the journey is to go back to the eternal soul. Like the wave's journey is to go back into the ocean. It rises, it peaks, it crashes, it falls, it goes back into the ocean. This Jiva Atma takes different bodies on its journey. So it's not just one incarnation, but it takes incarnation after incarnation until its karmic bank account is clear. And it keeps coming back until there is an awareness, a realization, an experience of, I'm ocean. And in that moment of the experience, that freedom is attained. Now, this gets us into the aspect of what we call Sukshma Sharir. I was mentioning this, I think it was last night, which is the subtle body. Because the soul doesn't get impressions. So when we talk about impressions, or the work that we do, the sadhana we do, the meditation we do, the prayers that we do, the stuff that comes back life after life, well, it doesn't stick to soul, and it doesn't stick to body. So what does it stick to? What it sticks to is what we call subtle body, or Sukshma Sharir, which is made up of Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar, which means the mind, the intellect, and the ego. That travels with soul from incarnation to incarnation. And it is upon those bodies, those sheaths, those koshas, that the impressions happen. And eventually, when the Sukshma Sharir dissolves, that's when the Jiva Atma merges back into the Paramatma. So we do believe there's a permanent self, but karma is not permanent. Karma is there, it feels permanent when you're thinking about lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It certainly feels permanent. And as far as this lifetime is concerned, it's definitely permanent. But as far as eternity is concerned, it is not permanent. Only soul is permanent. Divinity is permanent. That Sat, Chit, Anand, that truth. Sat means truth or existence. consciousness and bliss. Not bliss because, oh my God, I ate Swiss chocolate and it was really, really good. But a bliss that comes from the truth of existence, that comes from consciousness, that is the very nature of existence and the very nature of consciousness. And that's what's permanent. I know I threw a lot of terms out at you. I hope that makes sense. Okay, good. Yeah. And it is different than the Buddhist way of understanding. Yes. Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, it's not like a journal question, it's like my personal family question I would like to ask.
Sure, that's fine. Personal family questions are fine.
The thing is, actually, in 2017, I'm a veterinarian. With my consent, my father and my brother started a business of pig farming. But as
Say that, I'm so sorry, I'm not able to hear fully.
my brother...
Can you speak right into the mic, then we can hear.
Okay.
Sorry, it's only one directional. We need to get all direction mics. It's actually only one directional, so you have to speak straight into it.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Much better, thank you.
My brother and my father, with my consent, we started a business of pig farming.
Okay?
Pig farming, rearing of pigs.
Yes.
But the later, as I got into the journey of spirituality, I didn't find it okay to continue with it. When I asked my father to stop it, they are saying that if we are not going to do it, someone else is going to do it. So is it okay? I don't have any answer to answer them, because initially I asked with my consent only. They started with this business because me being a veterinarian, they have my help with the formulation and all that stuff. But right now I don't find it good enough to continue with that particular business.
Great, well I'm so glad that you've raised it. On the level of this human birth, on the level of karma, on the level of morality, of ethics, of dharma, all of the rules that govern our human birth, no, it isn't right. I cannot think of a situation in which causing pain and suffering to others would be considered an okay way to make a living. As far as the idea that if we don't do it, someone else will, that's essentially like saying, well, if I don't murder this guy, someone probably would. I mean, there's so many murders. If I don't rape this lady, someone else probably will. I mean, there's so many rapes in our city. People are being killed all over the world. Women are being raped all over the world. People are being oppressed all over the world. That's no excuse for us to do it. And the truth is, it's not that if you didn't do it, other people will. What other people are doing is their own karmic package. They're going to deal with their karma. What you are doing is your karmic package. Every act of violence you do goes in your karmic file. And for me, I wouldn't want to move through my lifetimes with a file of knowingly, consciously, deliberately causing pain and suffering to anyone. That kind of karmic fruit would scare me. I think awareness and realization is key. I do think that the divine system is very patient and understanding, and as long as we are ignorant, I think there's a different situation. But I think the moment that we actually realize that our acts are harming someone and we don't change it? You know, it's like if someone stands on your foot and they're wearing high-heeled shoes and it hurts. Well, as long as they don't realize they're standing on your foot, they're not going to get any kind of negative karma for that. It was a mistake. They moved over this way. They didn't realize your foot was there. Nobody would say, oh, that's a mean, horrible, awful woman. She didn't know. It was a mistake. She accidentally stepped on your foot. But if you say to her, excuse me, ma'am, you're standing on my foot and it really hurts, could you move? And she says no, and she grinds her heel in harder into your foot, well, there's going to be some karmic repercussions for that. Now she knows. Now she's been given a choice. Now she is choosing violence. Don't choose violence. What your father do, what your brother do, that is their karmic package. You're not in charge of them. You can certainly suggest to them, but don't dictate. Everyone's eyes open when it's morning for them. But for you, with a conscience that knows that it isn't right, stop. Get out. There's absolutely, as I said, no excuse I can think of to cause harm. And the idea that if we don't, someone else will is just absolutely not true. The more of us who really wake up in a deep spiritual, traditional way, not in kind of the current colloquial way, but that really come out of this illusion and we recognize that we are one, that we are not separate from each other, from the divine, from all of creation, well, that's a ripple impact. It's a huge ripple impact. You know, I'll tell you a true story. There's a man named John Robbins who was the son. Have you heard of Baskin-Robbins ice cream? So it's probably the biggest brand of ice cream in America, possibly internationally, I don't know. But his father was Mr. Robbins of Baskin-Robbins. His uncle was Mr. Baskin. Baskin-Robbins was founded by his father and his uncle. And it was just assumed that he would go into the family business. He grew up with a ice cream shaped swimming pool in their backyard, and he says, you know, they pretty much ate ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner growing up. And everyone just assumed, being the son, that he was going to take over the business. And when he was in university, they took him to the dairy farms where the cows were kept. And in America, in much of the world, and now tragically in much of India, dairy farms are places of violence. We think of them as, you know, beautiful goshalas like ashrams run. But that's not the situation in almost every case. Ashrams still do it nicely. Every once in a while, some beautiful people run a goshala that's nice. But tragically, and especially in the West, all of them are places of torture and violence. And he saw the way that the cows were treated. And he saw the connection between the cows, the dairy cows, and beef and veal, and how when the babies came out of the milk-giving mother cows, that the babies were sent off to become veal or to become beef, and how the dairy industry was incestuously connected to the meat industry. He said, I don't want a part of it. He said, keep your money, it's dirty money. Now, this was back in the 70s. Some 50 years ago we're talking about. And this was a multi-million-dollar enterprise 50 years ago. He said, I don't want a bit of it. He moved to an island off of Canada with his wife where they grew their own food. It's a great story. I won't go into all of the details, but it's a beautiful story. And he ended up, he says, I knew what to say no to, but I didn't know what to say yes to. He then went and posing as a journalist for like Agriculture Today magazine, or posing as a student in some kind of agricultural school, posing as all kinds of things. He then traveled across America, going to chicken farms and egg farms and beef places, and he collected all the data, all the photos. And in the early 1980s, he wrote a book called Diet for a New America. And it was a book that exposed the meat industry in a way that nothing else had. It became an international bestseller. Years later, he, his son, their organizations, it's an empire of nonviolence and compassion and love. They have this huge organization now called the Food Revolution that teaches people how to eat in a way that's healthy, but that's nonviolent and that's compassionate. Now, he turned away not just a family business, but a multi-million-dollar possibility because it didn't feel right. And proceeded to spend years, on the verge of starvation until he learned to grow his own food, looking to find what to say yes to. This is Dharma. This is courage. And because I know him personally and know his beautiful son Ocean and their family, I know the ripple impacts, not just on the world, which anyone can see, but on their lives of living in alignment with truth, with morals, with values, with ethics, with love, with compassion. It can be done. It has been done. And you can do it. Yeah, beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. A beautiful day to our family joining us from all over the world. As always, just to remind you all that we have here at Parmarth a full, beautiful day of programs for you. Yoga, meditation, yagna ceremonies, Ganga Arati. Everything is open to everyone. There's no charge for anything. Whether you're staying at the ashram or not staying here, we invite you to take part in all of it. There's a schedule in the reception area that gives timings and venues. And I look so forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And so much love to you all.